So 11 Years is a short film based in a dystopian United Kingdom future where the government is basically really corrupt. 11 Years looked at a character called Hugo, who's an ex-politician or an ex-civil servant, and basically is forced to abandon his family and leave his family behind and stay away from the world simply because he knows information which will affect the government. Today we're in central London, taking the establishing shot, which is going to be of the Houses of Parliament. This is our setup for today. We've got a small A7 camera, a MattBrown adapter EF to E mount, which allows us to put on this Canon 15mm lens, and a matte box. Picking up the ambient sound, we have this Rode video mic, and all this is attached to a small crane or a jib, which is allowing us to get really nice subtle movement for the start of the film. Also attached we have a field monitor which allows us to look at things like peaking, so the focus, lighting conditions. It also allows us to record on it as well. Also, to record the film of this interview, we have a SmartLav Plus connected to a H1 zoom recorder. So the film forms around one scene in particular, which is the main conference scene, in which Hugo is basically talking about how it's affected his life being away from his family. Camera shots and camera style for the conference scene, we wanted to go quite simple. We didn't want to go too overly complicated, so what we decided to do is just do a simple side shot for the majority of it throughout the whole, which is what we actually used for the editing of the film. So we actually used a shoulder rig like this to do that with a 50mm lens. So the 50mm lens, which is there, gave us the opportunity to get really shallow depth of field.
Okay, we just finished the conference room scene of 11 Years, and what I'm about to do next is, this room has slight problems with these lights making a lot of noise, which is going to be a bit of a pain for our cutting when we get to our audio. So the next thing I'm about to do is I'm about to use my Rode video mic with the Rode grip, I don't know what it's called, into my Zoom H1 so I can record room sound. So when we have the opportunity of cutting, we can then have a nice room sound to cut between, so we don't get that horrible audio cut between takes.
In terms of equipment, what we did use is we wanted to make sure we never used a tripod. This is actually the first shot we've actually used a tripod for, just the still shots. We didn't want we wanted the film to have constant movement to keep up the dizziness effect, you know, make the audience feel a bit unwary and constantly moving, which I thought worked
maybe
quite well.
Sense of tension, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So for that we used things like, we used the jib at the start of the film, we used this here for the grip part, we used a small Steadicam for the bit where we follow the murderer, and we also used a slider as well for quite a lot of the shots, yeah. Just to give the sense of just hinted movement for that, so I thought that,
yeah,
you know, they worked quite well. Originally we did say at the start we wasn't going to use a tripod because we want the shots to feel still, we wanted them to be constantly moving.
Yeah, quite fluid.
Quite fluid, yeah.
With the conference scene itself, we actually had a rather difficult issue. We didn't have the actor for very long, and we had quite a bit of noise in the room in the audio, and actually the actor's dynamic range while he was speaking was it was very varied, from a very small whisper to quite a large, like essentially almost the point of shouting. So it made recording the audio exceedingly difficult. So we set a level for where it peaked, you know, before it peaked at its loudest, and then record from there. However, this left a lot of noise in the shot as well, because we had to. Anyway, this also had to be edited out, which I simply used a noise gate with a filter on it to filter out the background noise, which left it quite clean as well, and then just leveled out the piece where it's required. For the most part, we shot the film using the Rode video mic, which was on a Rode boom pole, which is your one, to a Zoom H1 audio recorder, which is a rather inexpensive way to get high quality audio. And even for the most part, I was shocked at the level of the performance. I'm always get shocked at the performance level of the Rode mic itself, and it threw everything we threw at it. for a very run and gun, cheap setup. It had a very professional sound, and the end product you wouldn't believe was shot on what was relatively quite inexpensive equipment.
So in terms of editing, the sound was the most difficult because we actually used two different software. So I basically applied the raw sound to the Premiere Pro file, and I exported that file in an uncompressed format, gave it to Matt, who then edited it in a way in which took away all the bad frequencies and the
which I spoke to earlier, which is the noise gate. I had it into Logic Pro 9, and because one thing we kept constant throughout was the shot was the scene of the monologue, and so whatever corner you could change it with the same fixed points, no matter how much I edited it, it would still sync up. Anyway, that's been the behind the scenes for 11 years. I hope you've enjoyed the film itself. We've worked quite hard on it, and we hope you approve the end product. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
See ya.